During the early morning on June 21, 1944, at 2 a.m., 5 airmen were on a training flight in a B-24 airplane when all 4 of their engines died. Thinking the plane was going down, the pilot ordered his crew to bail out in pitch blackness. 3 obeyed his orders, but his co-pilot refused, even when the pilot tried to push him out the door. The pilot then went back to the controls and was able to restart the engines and later made a safe landing at Kingman, Arizona Army Airfield. Meanwhile, the 3 parachutists floated down. The 3 landed in various places down on the Tonto platform north of the Colorado River, south of Point Sublime, about 12 miles downriver from the Phantom Ranch area. They were about 1,000 feet above the river and 4,000 feet below the north rim. Corporal Royce Banks, the aerial engineer, landed uninjured. Lieutenant Charles Goldblum, the bombardier, slid down a steep slope where his parachute became snagged on the rocks. He hung in the harness until daylight. Maurice Cruikshank, the navigator, hit a steep slope and broke 5 bones in his foot. In the morning, with a makeshift crutch, he was able to meet up with Goldblum. The 2 made it down to the river and drank out of Cruikshank's shoe. On the 3rd day, they heard a shout from above. It was Banks. He came down and joined them. They tried to make a raft of logs but gave that up and decided to climb back up where they could be spotted. They spread their parachutes on the ground to notify rescuers of their location and waited for another day, praying for rescue. They were finally spotted on their 4th day in the canyon. Supplies were dropped: water, food, flares, and bedding. A message was also dropped that read, "Greetings, you are in the Grand Canyon. Do not leave your position until notified by message dropped from an Army airplane." Authorities then spent time trying to figure out how to rescue them from this remote location. 4 mounted park rangers with supplies on 12 mules descended the Hermit Trail, hoping to cross the river to reach them, but the water level was at flood stage. They even considered shooting a line across the Colorado River to help a boat get across, but eventually turned back. The Army, with a convoy of trucks, jeeps, and Army men, tried to attack the North Rim. Army planes dropped flour bombs along the cliff walls to mark what they thought was the best route down. But in the end, all it took was 2 experienced Grand Canyoneers to pull off the rescue. Ranger Ed Laws and an experienced hiker, Dr. Alan McRae, were asked to help. They studied maps and decided to hike down off the North Rim from Grandma Point. On day 8, they started down carrying small packs. They figured out a safe way using a deer trail to descend to Tuna Creek, where they reached the Airmen at about noon. The group took another slow day to hike up to the North Rim. The Airmen were finally back up after 9 days. They were greeted by newspaper and radio reporters, photographers, park officials, and military brass. It was reported,
heavily bearded and seared by the blistering sun, the 3 airmen grinned broadly as they gained the canyon rim.
They said,
"We lived in comparatively luxury after we got together and the planes dropped us supplies. Those care rations dropped from the air tasted like turkey."
They were driven around to the South Rim and then taken to the base in Kingston. The bad luck airplane later crashed a few months later. Lieutenant Goldblum went missing in action 6 months later in the South Pacific. Later his plane was found crashed on a jungle mountain in the Philippines and his remains were recovered. The other 2 lived long lives.
This video was written and produced by Davy Crockett for the Grand Canyon Historical Society. Visit us at grandcanyonhistory.org. Help us continue to preserve and share the history of Grand Canyon by becoming a member of the Society. Also, use the subscribe button below to receive more videos like this one.